Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dedicated to the Craft, a podcast brought to you by Ballast Brewing Company. I'm your host, Jeff Lozano. And once again, I'm very excited to be partaking in this next conversation between three very decorated, very knowledgeable local brewing legends. Lord Chandler from Ballast Point Brewing Company. We got Mr. Brian Brooks, brewmaster and founder over at SouthNorte. And we got Jim Millea, brewmaster at OB Brewing Company. What's up, gentlemen?
Chilling.
Another day in paradise.
All right, you know what? I'm going to do this one. Oh, sí, señor. Very cool. Look at that, man.
Very nice.
Coming in high over there at SouthNorte.
Yeah, that's part of that marketing group. They know how to make good names and work on cool logos.
Hey, look, man, what you guys are doing is really rad. I think that you guys have that you're spearheading a very important missing link in craft brewing, especially given our geography. We're so proximal to Mexico that it should just be a thing. And I'm glad that you are the guy behind it.
Thank you. Yeah, the best part of TJ is San Diego, and the best part of San Diego is
Right.
That's a quote.
That's a bumper sticker right there.
So one of the reasons we're getting together is, I just hit 23 years, and we've been talking to some influential people in my career, and that's why you guys are kind of on. And what I've liked is we've talked to people that worked at Homebrew Mart before I did, for the most part, and I know both of you guys were big home brewers kind of before being a professional brewer. So we got a lot to talk about. And plus I love you guys. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Likewise,
One
brother.
of my favorite people. So thanks for being on. And since we just cracked it open, why don't you start us off, Ryan, and just
All right.
lay into some C Senor.
Cool. Well, this is a project that took me about 4 years to develop. It was just kind of a one-off thing at the pub at Coronado. I got to just get the Modelo yeast strain and make basically a craft version of what I like to drink in Mexico for the weekend, which is Modelo Tecate Rojas. So it's real easy, 2-row and Pilsner malt, a little bit of corn in the mash, low IBUs from Noble hops, and low, slow, cold lagering.
It's delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, that's crisp.
We were pretty stoked this year. We got a gold medal at the Great American Beer Fest in October, I believe it was. It took me a while to put it in the right category. I'd compete with it for a few years, and it was either too big for some categories or too small for others. So I think that the cream ale category worked pretty well for this one.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of has a nuttiness a little bit to it.
Yeah, okay, so this is a different batch. We used to always use Environment Pils malt. This is Great Western Pils in this batch. And I don't think I'll stick with that. I think I'll go back to the Environment. But that was the one trick that we had them all at the time, and that's what we used.
I don't know, man. It's delicious.
Thank you.
Very easy to drink.
So were you doing a lot of lagers when you were homebrewing?
No, I never did at all. I couldn't. I was basically fermenting inside a carboy or inside a bucket of or a big kind of jug of water to keep the temperature maintained, and I'd swap out ice cold bottles.
Did
And that
you
was
use a
as good as I
t-shirt?
could
Did
get.
you put the t-shirt on it? So
I
it
did,
kept
yes,
the water
absolutely.
up?
Yep.
Put the fan on it?
Yep.
That's poor man's
Ruin-
refrigerator right there.
Ruined my parents' guest bedroom and bathroom doing homebrew stuff.
Nice. Yeah, but they loved the smell, I'm sure.
They did. Yeah, they were always stoked on me getting excited about new beers I was bringing out.
So what do you remember about Homebrew Mart back in the day when you were a customer before you were a professional brewer?
I remember having to do keg deliveries for Black Market Brewing and do some sales for them. And every time I had to do a trip down to San Diego, I'd always stop by to grab grains that I couldn't get my hands on and random hops that you couldn't get at the other homebrew store in Riverside that I'd have to go to. I remember many times breaking a racking cane or the siphoning tube, auto siphon, and having to go to Homebrew Mart, make sure you get a new siphon tube. But, or Carafa 3, I seemed like that. I could only get Carafa 3 from you guys.
Do you remember certain people that helped you out there? like people.
Yeah, I kind of remember Nate McIntyre. That was probably later on, not in the very beginning. I remember Big Doug was always there, and George.
So Larry claims, Larry from Fall Brewing claims that he was the first one to give you a tour into the back where the brewery was.
100% true. Yep, he did do that.
Yeah,
He'd always like to talk, and he would bring me back there, and he showed me how it was, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is awesome back here."
He's definitely talking right now.
He said you had looked like you had been let into like Oz, and you were just kind of like, so that was kind of cool.
That was probably the first brewery I got to go to.
Jim, we have a little bit of a history.
A little bit, yeah.
Your second homebrew was in my backyard on Pescadero Avenue in Ocean Beach.
That's right. Yeah, my very first one was when I lived in Massachusetts, and I just found a homebrew kit. It was like, wow, what's this thing? I can make beer. I'll try it out. And that was sort of a one-time shot. And then I moved out here shortly later and met Colby on a camping trip down in Mexico. And this guy was serving beer at his campsite. And like, that's some dude I got to get to know better. And anyway, good circle of friends right off the bat. And then, it turns out he worked at this homebrew mart store. I'm like, oh, I did that once. And got hooked up with another kit and brewed another next batch in his backyard. It was a pale ale, actually.
Oh.
Had some fun with that and just kind of kept growing from there. Going into Homebrew Mart was a great place. I can't remember who was helping me out early on. It might have been you, Colby, but you definitely would have been the one to show me around the back. And I just thought it was so cool that you had all these ingredients and all this stuff.
I gave you the best discount, guaranteed.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
So a lot of people don't know that Jim was my best man at my wedding.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So we've got a long relationship, and to kind of draw even more circles, when I first moved to San Diego in 1994, the first place I tried to go to was Carl Strauss Sorrento Valley, and they were closed. So we went across the freeway to TGIF, and the next day I went to PB Brewhouse and met Skip at the time, and that was my first two. Like literally, I got off the plane, went to Carl Strauss, and then eventually I got married at Carl Strauss Sorrento Valley. I brewed a beer at Carl Strauss La Jolla. Jim was my best man, so there's a lot of circles going on.
That's so rad.
One of the fun circles for all three of us is champion brewer. We've all been lucky enough to be a part of the team that's won champion brewer at one point or another. You want to talk a little bit about yours, Jim, since you're the most recent?
I mean, shoot, I was so stoked to go out to GABF, and I entered a few beers, including the pale ale. And I remember I was sitting with some guys from Amplified. I was sitting next to Sebastian, and just with a bunch of San Diego people all kind of crewing together. Everyone's fired up for each other, not really necessarily expecting anything, but you always hope. And they got to the pale ale category, and they went through the bronze and silver and shouted out gold medal for Be Right On Pale Ale and OB Brewery. I was just like, holy smokes. I was so stoked. I couldn't even believe it. Just so happy. Ran down the stairs, kind of. I was waiting in line. And I remember just sort of talking to someone that was right at the bottom of the steps and waiting to take my turn to go up and give a fist bump to Charlie and, whatever. And then all of a sudden I heard my name and Scott Watkins, our general manager at OB Brewery, Jim Millea and Scott Watkins, something about brewer of the year. What? I didn't even know what happened. I kind of looked up at the screen and saw this brewery, the small brew pub of the year thing. And I kind of blacked out from there on. I don't even know what happened. I went up on stage and put my hands in
right there, baby. Is that her?
That's the one. Yeah. So it's been a awesome beer.
Right on.
First beer that I ever brewed at OB Brewery. The actual first inspiration for this beer was back in 2011. I was looking through my homebrew journal the other day, one of my good buddies, Ryan Ing, who was one of my buddies I surf with a lot, and he wanted me to brew a beer like Yellowtail. So he wanted me to brew. He loved drinking the Yellowtail, Pale Ale, California Kolsch, all the names that one's gone through. And so I came up with this, I brewed this pale, and that was sort of like, that one just kind of evolved through my home brewing. And when first beer I brewed at OB Brewery was going to be a pale ale, and it wasn't the same as that recipe really, but that was sort of the base for it that kind of grew into what I wanted to do for my pale ale there. And I was still super stoked on it. So yeah, now
I bet.
Yeah, it's great. So we got just got this fresh batch on tap, so I'm pretty stoked about it.
I was watching live at home, and when you won the gold medal, I had turned to Tammy, my wife, and I'm like, Jim's gonna win champion small brew pub with a gold medal. That's 3 points. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And then boom, they announced it. I'm like, yeah. I was running around the house. I was so stoked.
How cool,
man.
dude.
Yeah, it was so cool, man. And I was there when you guys won with Coronado, Ryan. And I won't say where I was talking to Sean about it, but you guys had won some medals. I'm like, you guys are getting champion. If you got one more medal in there, you got a total shot at it. And sure enough, bam, you hit again. And go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that was exciting.
What's up, buddy?
Say hi.
What's up, little dude?
Oh, how's it?
That was a cool day. I had no idea we would do anything good at the World Beer Cup just because of the prestige of that competition. But the first award was a silver medal for our old Scallywag barley wine. And I was like, oh, great, that's freaking huge. We just got an award. Then we sat back down. Within 2 minutes later, they said, in the strong pale ale category, gold for Islander IPA. And went, oh my gosh, this is huge too. And I kept thinking, I'm like, there might be a chance. Like I haven't seen a lot of repeat breweries win awards. It was like everyone just getting one, and we had two. And I was with Sean DeWitt and Wade Hurley, and I think I hurt Sean DeWitt. I was slapping his back and just getting so pumped on stage, just throwing the horn. Oh, it was probably the best. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Really.
Yep.
How rad is that, dude?
Pretty cool.
So the three of you have had that weird, like, beautiful experience. And one of the cool things about the relationship that you have with each other, and a lot of relationships that get built in this industry, is that it's almost, you're vicarious. Other guys are experiencing with you, like the way Colby and Jim were like, I'm as stoked, maybe even more stoked.
I ran up to the stage and was high-fiving Sean and you, and like when you guys were coming off the stage, I was like, yeah, like woo.
Yeah.
So stoked.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about going to the festival and being in that award ceremony is just the energy everyone kind of has for each other. It's really awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to the three of you, man. That's quite the accomplishment. And geez, those are the moments that make Final Cut.
So speaking of moments, you guys are kind of stuck in a circle now, I think, too. Ryan, if you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with SouthNorte now and kind of on both sides of the border. Sure. And then we're going to let Jim talk about maybe a new project that's coming down the line.
So SouthNorte, recently the second in line owner took majority ownership of SouthNorte, and he's a great dude, John Gallegos, from a marketing group up in Huntington Beach. And he's a Mexican-American guy that loves craft beer and loves the independent movement. He's putting a lot of money towards advertising. We just put up a TV commercial on Fox TV. So that's been pretty rad to be along with Colby to have a commercial on TV. And we are focusing not only on Southern California, jumping into Orange County and LA pretty soon, as well as working on a new project down in Tijuana with one of my buddies owns a homebrew shop down there called the Homebrewing. And he's building a whole new piece of property with a brewery inside of it. It's going to have his homebrew shop. It's going to have tasting room. And I'm helping do that. And that's going to allow us to have more capacity or ability to brew more beer.
But you're still going to be brewing beer on this side of the border too, right? To just kind of
Yep.
avoid paperwork.
Yep, it's so much easier just to brew in Mexico and keep it there, brew in the States and keep it there.
Right.
Nice.
Very
And
cool.
Yeah.
You guys got big plans on beers like coming out in August and September?
Yeah, we've got 3 more that will be, hopefully, depends on if cans get in time. I know it's kind of a hard thing getting some of the aluminum cans made right now. So I would hope by September or October.
Anything you could talk about?
I
No, I won't push it.
don't want to get in trouble.
Castigado.
So Jim, be right on. I think Jeff already has gone through his.
I haven't. I let it. I poured it a little bit so that it can sit here for a little
This
bit.
is the new label for canning. You guys are gonna
Yeah.
mobile canning soon or something?
So rad.
Ooh, I don't know how to use my camera apparently.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Hopefully in the next few weeks, maybe. I've been trying to do it for something keeps falling out of place to not let it happen. But we've got our labels now. We've got a nice fresh batch of the beer made. Amplified Ale Works is going to be good enough to let us use they have a single canner machine that I've used with them in the past on a collaboration that they said I could use in the future. So they're going to let me use that again. So we're going to go, just do a pretty small batch amount. But so we're going to have some cases and 6-packs to sell out of the brewery and just kind of start there and see if we can kind of grow it. And maybe start canning some other beers too. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked on it.
As
What's that?
As somebody that's named a beer after a street in Ocean Beach, can you tell me a little bit more about the name of this beer?
Oh yeah. Well, at the time when I first started working at OB Brewery, this was again the first beer I made there. I was living on Brighton Avenue, and to give a shout out to a friend of Colby and ours, Sean Shepard. I remember Sean came over to my house and he was like, "Oh, you live on Be Right On? That's awesome. I used to live in this street." And I was like, "That's such a cool name. I'm going to name a beer after that." So my first out of the gates, I was like, "Be Right On Pale Ale. That's perfect." So yeah.
It's delicious, dude.
So Ryan, what's the translation in Spanish of "Be Right On"?
Oh, you put me on the spot, man. I don't know.
Okay.
You want to chime in?
I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I have to ask my wife. She'll know.
Because I was just wondering if you made a beer in Baja, would you call it that? If you knew the translation into Spanish.
What's
there's the tee up for you, Jim.
All right, I like it.
Estolo.
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 You right on.
Estolo. Oh no! You're saying right on. That's right on. Like if you go right on, dude.
Yeah.
That's Estolo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's kind of be right on.
Be right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Be right. Bright. Oh yeah, right. Be right on.
So, tell us why we're even having this conversation, Jim.
About Spanish?
About
Mexico?
Producing this beer in Mexico.
What?
Well, I've got a couple good friends that partnering up with to try to start a small brewery down in Guadalupe Valley, down in wine country down there. A couple good friends, Hannah and Anthony Sylvester. Hannah, formerly Hannah Bader, that worked at Ballast Point and more recently worked over at Epic.
Awesome.
Her and her husband, they live down across the border, and they approached me to see if I wanted to partner up and do something. They were doing some wine tours down there and befriended a wine owner, Joe Malagone. So there's a really great winery down there called Malagone Winery, right in the kind of northern section of the valley. And he was interested in starting up a brewery and doing something. So they became friends with him and part of their wine tours. And he apparently had a small brewery that was in the corner of his winery at some point that kind of fell apart for some reason or other. But he has a spot to put something and make some beer and do it. And he's all fired up to do something. So we all kind of met and talked and had some dinner and drank some wine and drank some beer and was like, sure, let's do this. So should be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. We have a name. We're going to be called El Destino.
Cool.
Means destiny. It also
Destination.
means destination. It also means destiny. So it's a little of that. So pretty cool. We're just going through the kind of early stages of, we got our corporation kind of registered. We're trying to become official in Mexico and all that stuff. So we got a long way to go. Got a little bit of equipment down there, but we still got some more to do. But should be fun. Hannah's great. Anthony's great. Anthony's a pretty avid home brewer. They have a their place they have down there. He has a whole bedroom converted into a brewery, which I was never able to pull off with a woman. So that says, he's got a really great setup. But we brewed some beer together down there, and he's brewing all the time. So he's really stoked to do something. And yeah, I love. And I've been going on to Baja since I first moved here. And first time in Baja was when I met Colby. He was saying on a camp trip, but I love going down there. So hoping we can do some good things down there. Yeah.
Exciting.
I haven't even touched on this with any other interviews, but what is your favorite food pairing with Be Right On?
Oh man, that's a tough call. I mean, geez, I usually just I drink this beer probably more than any of my other beers. It's sort of my go-to, and so I have it with everything. So I would say if I just had myself at my normal day at the brewery, I'd probably end up having a burger and a beer. So that's probably what it is. I don't know if that necessarily bakes it down to the best pairing or not, but that's where my heart goes.
I don't think you can go wrong with a beer and a burger, my friend.
It was pretty good with the chicharrones we had the other night.
Yeah, that's true. It was good.
That was pretty good. So both of you guys are obviously kind of love Baja. What are your favorite? Just two of your favorite things about Baja? I mean, it could be anything: place, food, beer, people, whatever. Let's start with you, Ryan.
Definitely the people. Like we talked about that a little yesterday. It's like everywhere you go, it doesn't have to be just in Baja, but anywhere in Mexico, they're so friendly and welcoming, and they're just big-hearted people. And I just love going down there and seeing the history too. There's a ton of history in Mexico. Absolutely fascinating. Awesome.
What about you, Jim?
I would say I love the landscape down there. I've done some really great camping and surfing trips down there. You can really get away. I do also. The people down there are great. They're super just easygoing, but at the same time, it's an easy place where you can go ahead and get right away from people pretty easily too, because there's so much open space down there. Some beautiful beaches and surf breaks and just beautiful areas to hang out and just relax and have a good time and
good beer.
A lot of great beer down there. That whole up and coming thing has been pretty fun, getting to know some people down there that already are making beer, and just I love road trips. So road trips up here, down there, anywhere. And I've taken some really great Baja road trips, and I hope to take many more.
When we do our collaboration, what kind of Baja ingredients do you guys want to use?
Throwing
I'm
up
all
the
about some of the crazy wild honeys that come from the valley.
Yeah, I guess for me, we're going to be located at this Malagon winery, so I'd love to do something with some of his grapes.
So I hate to say this out loud, but you guys are the next generation in brewers. I think it's kind of cool to watch, everybody kind of growing up and being successful. What do you want to bring to the San Diego community going forward, as your generation of the new brewers? And I asked Chuck and Pat if they had a question for you guys. So it's a two-parter. What new techniques are you taking advantage of being the next generation? We'll start with Jim.
That's a good question. New techniques. I don't know if I have any of my own new techniques. A lot of the stuff is stuff I've learned from all kinds of people. So, I learned probably the core of what I learned was from working with you, Colby, at Ballast and working with with Nate Stevens now at Epic, learning a bunch at Ballast, Little Italy, and working with Matt Aiken at Benchmark when he was owning that place, and just a slew of other people that I've been lucky enough to learn from and talk to. And right now we have Pizza Port down the road, and we share ideas and this and that. So I can't think of a technique off the top of my head that's something new that I have used yet. But I would say, as far as something I would like to continue bringing, or going forward to bring to the table, is just to try to continue this collaborative spirit that we has been fostered here in this town, and hopefully in other towns and everywhere, with this beer community, and just trying to kind of keep people engaged with each other, and keeping that spirit alive.
In that kind of essence, are you still drinking Ballast Point beer now that we're independent?
Yeah. Well, from time to time, I keep them in the back of the fridge, but I'll pull them out once in a while.
Jeff, can you talk about how special it was when Jim wrote that little op-ed in the West Coaster for us at Ballast Point, and the 507 employees that are still there?
Yeah, I think I've had this conversation with almost every single employee here at Ballast Point. I think that your little piece on why it was still okay to love Ballast Point, we read it, and it was released at a time that I think we really needed it from a morale standpoint. It was never easy having to explain why we still care to people that thought that we forgot that we were still here busting our humps trying to make the best beer possible. And you can only go so far by defending yourself. It's always nicer when somebody who's reputable in the industry comes out and sticks their necks out for you. And it was you. And I remember really just feeling like this, not a weight, like off my shoulders, but we all collectively were, oh, thank God somebody came out and acknowledged what we've been trying to scream from the hilltops all this time. And so it was a really well articulated, I guess, vantage point. And I think that we all needed it at the time. I don't know what it did out in the outside community to people that stopped drinking us or that had something to say about us, but internally what that article did really, 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 it did great things to our morale, man. So I'm always appreciative of that article. And I think I've told you every time that I see you, I'm like, dude, thank you for that. I mean, you gave us that little that push to keep on believing in ourselves. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been, that you have that Roots to Boots program at Ballast Point. That's so awesome. And that is truly where, that's where my roots really began, as far as just being fired up on making beer and all things beer. And I've always loved the Ballast Point Brewery. You guys have such a good program. You have so many things going on, from the different types of the homebrew mart that had the 15-barrel system, now the 1-barrel, and you've got the Little Italy brew pub, and you've got the big Miramar, and then you had Scripps, and just such a variety of awesome opportunities for all the people that do work there. I feel like I was like an unofficial employee there. I got my unofficial internship 1 and 2. Just all the years of homebrewing and meeting all the guys that work there. And, it's just been such a special place for me always. And, it's just...
unofficial is a nice way to say that we didn't pay you for 2 internships.
we didn't pay you for graining out.
It wasn't just you.
Yeah. You drank a lot of beer.
Yeah, hey, you got paid in lots of ways other than in monetarily. I doubt if I had not kind of pursued trying to, work at Little Italy and work with you at Homebrew Mart, just not being fired up about it, I wouldn't be where I'm at now, running a brewery in OB. It's like my dream job. It started with, just being fired up on it, and that a lot of that came from Ballast Point.
So Ryan, going back to kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, and what you hope the direction's going to go and what you're going to help with, and kind of new techniques that you weren't using even 10 years ago.
Well, it froze up a little bit. I'm looking forward to bringing in some more unique ingredients that people might not know about from Mexico. I'm looking to do obviously a lot more cross-border collaboration, bringing some of my Mexican buddies up here to brew, as well as maybe doing some, 2 collaborations and bringing some Americans down to different parts of Mexico. So I think that's one of the bigger parts of what I've got going on and what I really want to see more of. I'd also like to see, I guess, in the drinking world, I'd like to see more variety of styles. Like I feel like there's so much just influence on, okay, lagers are pretty hot. It's great. Hazy IPAs, that's huge. But it's like there's not a lot of stuff in between there. It was a breath of fresh air yesterday to go to OB Brewing Company and get a Weizenbock. I mean, a Dunkelweizen. Like that was like, who's making that anymore? And it was fantastic. It was a great way to start the day drinking that. And that's where I like to see more people kind of, revisiting older styles and keeping styles alive, as well as taking styles and tweaking them and just having fun rather than just doing the same 2 or 3 styles over and over and over.
When I started in July of 1997, how old were you guys?
97, 16.
23.
Okay, that's fun.
Colby had to get that one in.
Yeah, that's super fun.
All right, kiddos.
Ryan, I asked you if you had a beer that you liked about Ballast Point, and you did not hesitate, and basically requested some California Amber.
Yep, Calico, baby. And that goes from my homebrew days when I was such a nerd listening to podcasts. It was one called "Can You Brew It?" I think it was Jim Millea, and they had Mr. White on there, and they broke down the recipe, and it was so awesome to see what they're doing and the influence of kind of the British flavors, but done in the American or California way. And it's always been that beer has been one of the first local craft beers I've ever had. I gotta
Still
go
to this day our most award-winning beer.
In multiple categories.
This is true.
Oh, this was my go-to for a long time. It still is from time to time, but this is, when in doubt, go with California Amber. That's what I always tell anybody that's looking. I need a cake for a party. I need a cake for my wedding. I need a cake for. If we have California Amber available, I go, dude, just take it. It's gonna kick quick. You should take 2.
It's hard for me not to call it Calico.
I have to think about it. I have to really think about it.
Yeah.
I'll call it Calico
all kinds
for
of
the
names.
rest of the show.
This was the reason Ballast Point started. This was Yusef and Jack's homebrew recipe. This is what got them into thinking about opening up a brewery. And then this was our first medal at I think it was a 2001 GABF, and then 2002 World Beer Cup. We got gold for Calico, bronze for Big Eye. And that year, 2002, I think it was the LA County Fair, Calico was best of show. And it's just been downhill ever since, basically.
It's a shame. It's a really good beer.
No, it's not a shame. I'm just saying it just picked up steam. It just
downhill that direction, not that other
direction. Yeah. No, it's still a fun beer. It's a bitter amber. You know what I mean? It's got some bitterness behind it. Got that Madeira kind of wine characteristics, and to this day, Jack went up to Pike Place Market and loved their beers, and basically asked the brewer for some yeast, brought it back to San Diego, and housed it at White Labs when White Labs was just opening.
Wow.
Or basically, I don't even know if it was White Labs at that point. And this has been our proprietary yeast now the whole time, the whole life of the brewery. So Big Eye, Black Marlin, Piper Down used to have a little bit in it. Even Keel used to have a little bit in it. It's just a good, solid English style yeast.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Tastes like beer, Jim?
Tastes just like beer. Very
well,
good.
This is Ryan's go-to. Jim, do you have a Ballast Point go-to, or did we already talk about that? Did you mention it? I didn't catch it.
Oh man, it's hard to have a go-to. I'd say for the old school beers, I always love Big Eye.
Yeah, boy.
Outside of that, I always love Abandoned Ship. So I don't know. Those are, I mean, there's so many you can go through, but those are the two that pop right into my head immediately. But, yeah.
Smoke screen.
Smoke beers. Jim and I have done a few beers over the years, and one of the cool facts about both Jim and Ryan is probably the farthest away collaborations that I've done. Jim and I, the first professional collaboration I ever did with was Midnight Sun with Gabe, and Jim went up there with me on his vacation and my work trip, and we brewed up there, and then I've been down to Santiago and brewed with Ryan at Tubinger. And we went all the way down to Patagonia, Kukan, did a little conference down there and everything. So do you guys have a favorite collaboration of any of the breweries that you've done? And do you have a like dream collaboration with maybe a brewery that influenced you, or just like you think right now is so out of reach, but in 2 years you're going to be doing it?
It's a good one. I think my favorite I've done, and it's kind of been an ongoing thing back and forth, is the Sesiones de Migrantes. And the best one we did was in Guadalajara at Loba. We sat there for 2 days peeling mangoes. We had a group of about 7 of us peeling mangoes all day, and the next day while we're brewing. And as far as a future one, I'd like to go back to Australia. I worked out there for 6 months. I'd like to go back to Australia and brew a beer out there again.
Yeah, I got to do Pirate Life collaboration. And those guys are super cool, and they got San Diego roots. They actually lived here for a little while. I'm 2 continents away from brewing on all 7 professionally.
Oh.
So I got Antarctica. I got to figure out how to do a Goza with Scripps Institute. And then hopefully Aaron can get us into the African content.
Oh, there you go.
Someplace. So what about you, Jim?
Let's see. I mean, probably my favorite collaboration probably was with you, Colby, when we did the smoked porter at OB Brewery when you came down. Because you gave me a version of that recipe back in the day as a home brewer. We made the Foggy Head smoked porter. So that was one of my favorite home brews I always made. And when I was interning at Little Italy, I got to make a version of the Foggy Head. And then when you came over and brewed with me at OB, it was decided to do the smoked hemp porter. It was awesome. It was an honor for me to have you over, and it was obviously a good time. And it was just cool for me to reach that milestone and be like, got Colby in my brewery brewing beer with me. That was probably my favorite. I still have a lot to do with those. It's a question on one that I really I don't have one on my horizon that I have like a dream list one off the top of my head. I feel like maybe I'm on the spot for it, so my head's a little bit blank. But,
take another swig.
Yeah, so I don't know, but you guys, we were just talking about doing some of this international travel with some of the things that you've done. So something like that would be pretty amazing. I have I have done collaboration with OB Brewery. I did one down in Ensenada with Doblese Brewery with those guys. We made a dry hopped cream ale that was a lot of fun, and so something else maybe on the international level, travel somewhere and do something cool like that. That'd be great.
Your background is in engineering, Jim.
Yeah.
I'm starting to make the kind of association that engineers make great brewers. Like, I feel like some of the best beers I had were former engineers. What do you think about that?
I think for me, I would say like as an engineering mind, or taking that through school. One thing that got me into engineering in the first place is I've always liked kind of how things work and learning about how things work and learning, when little pieces fall in place about, oh, that's why that happens. That's why you do this and that's why I do that. That's the kind of stuff that always fired me up when I learned about engineering in school. I kind of fell into that major just by taking a class in engineering and learning about the like mechanical engineering steam cycle and how like a power plant runs, and it just was super interesting to me. So I'd say to relate that back to beer, just learning about all the things that the things that you go through in the process, not just following a recipe, but why you're doing the certain things you're doing, and why you use certain temperatures, and why why it's good to know about alpha acids and all the other little things. And I have such a wealth of knowledge to learn still that I had stuff I don't even know yet. But you kind of, when you learn more of that stuff, that's kind of stuff that fires me up about making beer in the first place. So it makes me want to continue to learn.
So at Ballast Point, we're cranking through business as unusual. What's your business as unusual, Ryan? And then we'll throw to Jim, and he can kind of talk about the new patio and the expansion of OB Brewery.
Yeah.
Well, as of late, I think I've learned how to try to be a salesman. It was like, okay, go out and hit every liquor store from Oceanside Fallbrook to San Ysidro. And
I'm sorry.
It's tough, man. I don't know. It takes a certain kind of person to do that job, and I can do okay at it. But I just can't wait to be more full-time brewing, more around beer, less around people that don't care about your beer.
You don't have a place to go have the beer necessarily anymore, right? You're just doing it mostly canning and stuff. So.
Not yet. Yeah, I can. So grocery store, we've done a pretty good job of locking down a lot of these chains recently with Trader Joe's and Target, a lot of the big grocery chain stores. So it's been good. So right now you just have to go out and try to find it in the streets, and hopefully within a year or less, you'll be drinking side by side and cheersing at our own place.
On both sides of the border.
That's right. Yeah, Telefonica, you can still get some of the beers down there right now. It's been a little iffy the past few months, but we hope to actually brew there early next week.
Why don't you quickly tell everybody that doesn't know what that is, what Telefonica is?
Telefonica is a permanent gastro food truck park, and it was set up real small in the beginning where they had maybe 3 or 4 trucks and then a small bar area. Within a year or so doing that, it became real popular. So Antonio Gamboa, the owner, bought a building, put those 12 trucks permanently in there, and then also bought a 10-barrel brew house. So when he showed me the place, I said, "Oh my God, this is awesome. Who's the brewer?" And he goes, "We don't know yet." So he had bought a brew house and didn't know what he was going to do with it. And I said, "Well, hey, I got an idea. What if I come down here and help you, and I can have at least 1 or 2 of my beers on in the tanks?" And we had a good relationship, and we've been kind of going back and forth for over almost 2 years now, where I go down there and brew some beers or do collaborations, and then it stays down there at their place. It's been fun.
Super rad.
Antonio is super infectious too, because I went down when it was the trucks and it was the back bar, right? Back in that little area, like it was all white, kind of like whitewash and stuff. And yeah, he was passionate
extremely
about getting beer to people for sure. 100%.
Yeah. As you go from a dentist to running that, it's pretty wild.
Speaking of going from serving coffee to beer, I don't know. That was a weird segue.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, once Jim talks about it, it'll make sense. The outside patio. What happened to Java Jungle?
Sometimes my head just goes, "Woo." And went through the last time.
That's why I'm here, to explain it to you.
More beer. That's all. That cures it all.
Yeah, let me do a shot. Yeah, so it's exciting. So I mean, I'll start it off a little bit back with when I moved to OB. I guess 12 years ago now, and was my favorite bar was Newport Pizza, and they're a great craft beer bar, and they sadly had to. Their lease was up, and their spot that they had this past February, and they lost their spot. But to continue my thought about Newport Pizza, that was my favorite place to go. I used to bring them my home brews a lot and share my beer with them, and just loved being there and hanging out and drinking beer. And that's probably, that's how I kind of ended up meeting the owner of that place, who owns OB Brewery, and probably helped me get my job running that place now. But that place, when they lost their lease and they had to find somewhere else to go, right next door to OB Brewery and about across the street from where Newport Pizza was a coffee shop called Java Jungle that when the COVID thing hit a couple months ago, unfortunately, everything sort of shut down. But Newport Pizza also closed down in February, so it was just a month prior. So when that Newport Pizza started looking around for a new place, we talked to the Java Jungle, the owners of the property there, and started working on getting a lease going with that place to bring Newport Pizza across the street and over there and combine it with the coffee shop and have both. And to take it another step, considering that the brewery's right next door too, perhaps try to combine the brewery with it a little bit too. So it's pretty exciting. So right now with all this unfortunate stuff going on and having to have the outdoor dining and whatnot, we were able to get the lease going with the owner. With the Newport Pizza plans are still kind of getting worked out, where the pizza oven's going to go, where the bar's going to go. All that stuff is just in the works. None of that stuff's done yet. I'm sure it's going to take quite a little bit of time before any of that stuff starts happening. But in the meantime, we've got a beautiful outdoor patio set up, and we connected the front part of the patio of OB Brewery into the old spot for the Java Jungle. And so right now we have this great outdoor seating beer garden for the brewery right now. It's a beautiful spot. The tent, there was a nice big tent over the coffee shop that's still there, and we're still using that. And we just got some nice tables and whatnot in there, and kind of kept a lot of the stuff that was in the jungle itself. And so right now we've just got that. So when people come enjoy OB Brewery, they can sit up on the roof and enjoy the view, or they can go next to the patio next door and still be outside. And hopefully in the near future, we'll have the pizza shop up and running again, and maybe some more tanks for me to be brewing some more beer, get some more tap handles on in our own place with some more volume. And and hopefully we can still kind of keep the coffee shop in there. Right now, that's a little bit unclear as to what's going to happen with that, but we're trying to make sure. I hope that part still happens.
3 things.
Yeah.
Can't wait for David Hasselhoff Pizza to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other brewery that actually has expanded their space, because with that outside expansion, you actually have more seats than you did just with OB Brewing inside.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you haven't been to OB Brewery and sat on the roof and watched the waves hitting OB Pier and having some of Jim's great beer, you are missing out on a West Coast experience.
Best view in OB for sure.
Best view kind of in San Diego, I think, in a lot of ways.
Pretty great. It's a total dream job being there. In fact, just the thought of having my dream job at this brewery and then having my old favorite bar come back to life right next door that's going to be maybe connected to my brewery, I might just find somewhere to put a mattress in there, and that'll be it.
Go play the lotto, man, right now. Go play the lotto. Wear a mask.
And it's the only outdoor brewery in San Diego.
I love it.
Wait, hold on real quick. I got something, and I have to interject on this one. Everybody thinks brewing is so easy peasy. These guys just hang around and get drunk all day. You're putting your life on the line at all times. Why don't you guys tell the picking elderberries story before we log off?
Oh, you didn't already tell that one, Colby?
Did you?
No, we missed it last one.
Oh, all right. Well,
You have to talk about the picking elderberries, because everybody thinks that this is such a easy job, but no, it's not.
Go for it, Jim.
all right. Well, one of my most exciting things doing in brewing before I became a professional brewer is when I was quitting my corporate life and trying to figure out how to get into this gig, which is so awesome. Colby made a beer called San Salvador, which is a farmhouse ale with a bunch of local San Diego ingredients that we picked up in Warner Springs, including elderberries and white sage. We got some local honey. We got manzanita berries, and I could probably talk for a long, long time about that. Colby had partnered up with a farm owner. It was called Wing Shadow Farms, Colby, I think.
Yeah.
Bruce that owns that place or runs that place, and so he had this connection with Bruce to go up onto he had a homestead ranch, this awesome homestead ranch. I mean, he still had I remember seeing he had the wagon train that his family came across country in. Whoa. It was still on the property. It was kind of rusted out and kind of fallen apart, but the wagon train was still there from where his family showed up on his homestead ranch. So cool. Just had such a cool history of him, and it's so many good stories and whatnot. So he allowed us on his property to pick most of these ingredients. Before we got the manzanita berries and the sage and all that, the elderberries we were picking right off of the State Route 79 up around that Warner Springs area. Kind of a one lane on each side road. That I think the speed limit's maybe 35 or 40 or something. I don't know. But we before we went on the ranch, we pulled over to this spot where there was some really big, beautiful elderberry bushes that had a pretty good amount of elderberries on them, and we were hanging out and picking some of these things. And a bunch of us were on one side of the street in the bushes. Colby and Bruce were on the far side of the street near this building, and they were chatting over there, and just out of nowhere.
Chuck, I think Chuck was on our side too, wasn't he?
Was he too? Okay, yeah, that part I can't remember, but you just heard this tire screeching noise. Just it was so loud. Just heard this noise, and I just remember looking around the corner and seeing this tractor trailer truck with two empty flatbeds behind it, like two separate flatbeds, and one of them was straight behind the truck, and the other one was at a 90-degree angle, just coming whipping around this corner. The guy must have been going 70 miles an hour or something. Who knows? But the flatbed going sideways smashed into a telephone pole and completely shattered it. The telephone pole base and where the telephone pole was like 5 feet over or something.
Cut
like
it in half.
It basically just totally destroyed it, which pretty much probably saved some lives, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, slowed it down.
There, and then the truck also hit. I think it hit Bruce's truck and missed your truck somehow, Colby.
Just missed my Tahoe by like a foot.
Oh my God, it was so close. And you guys on the other side of the street. I was just like, are they still even alive? Like, holy, what just happened?
We were standing next to the truck that got totaled.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so scary and so fast. It just happened so fast, and all of a sudden this truck just whizzed by and. We're all just like, what just happened there? So, man, nobody got hurt. What a lucky day to be alive. That was the name. I was trying to think of it the other day. I called that I made a homebrew of that Saison, and I called it Lucky Day, and then I had my little story on it.
Ah, dude, that's cool. The tastiest elderberries you've ever had.
My goodness, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that was and then we went and picked the rest of the ingredients. And we're all like shaking. Just like, did anybody bring any bourbon? Like, oh man, can't smoke enough, just like,
that's rad.
It was like a full-on bomb went off.
Yeah.
And I remember you guys saying, like, you were across the street from us, and it was just all dirt and just a big, like, smoke bomb, like, and you guys were like, they're dead. They're dead.
Yeah.
Our friends are dead. Like, it was that bad. It was horrific. It was, but a good story.
Yeah, in a delicious beer. I miss it. We're gonna make that one again.
So Ryan, you want to come pick with us sometime?
I'm down.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you, risk taker.
Nice. We just got to wear pads.
Sure. We'll have a lookout.
Those shark cages. You're just gonna be in a shark cage.
So, listen. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Jeff, you got anything else you want to kind of add in?
Yeah, definitely. Look, man, this has been quite a treat for me. I've been able to sit on, this is the third installment of Colby and Friends, celebrating Colby's 23-year anniversary with Ballast Point. And I just feel honored to be able to sit in on these conversations when you guys are going back and forth, talking about old times and the relationships that you guys have forged throughout the years, and collectively how you guys have terraformed the craft beer industry in San Diego and outside of it too. I just love listening and being able to absorb this. I think what Colby said earlier about you guys being the new generation of brewers and ushering in the new wave, and the baton is being passed and stuff. I think San Diego beer is in the best hands possible, and it really puts a smile on my face, because a lot of what we've forgotten about as far as the collaborative spirit of beer making was lost for a blip of time. And I say that optimistically. I hope it's just for a blip of time. Oh, the lights went out. See, I'm getting deep. On this. But what I cherish the most is being able to witness and to listen in on these conversations. So thank you guys for letting me be a part of this.
Well, thank you for hosting it.
Couple things. I'm super looking forward to watching you guys get old.
It's happening every day.
And as always, I always like to cheers to San Diego beers.
Yes.
Cheers.
So, thanks for being a part of the community. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. An awesome conversation between three legendary brewers, the League of Champions, as we will call them from here on out. Awesome way to finish up a celebratory 23 years at Ballast Point Brewing Company with Colby Chandler. So cheers, you guys. Thanks for listening.